speech. My name's Steven, as you may or may not know. And if you ever heard me in class, you know I talk a lot about tabletop role-playing games. So today, we're going to talk about why you should play tabletop role-playing games. I'm a credible source because I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours playing, be it behind the GM screen or in front of it as a player. I mostly played D&D, Starfinder, and Call of Cthulhu. I played many, many hours, as I've said, of those. But to get started, we're going to talk a little bit about the different games so you can get an idea of what might be interesting to you. Shadowrun is a cyberpunk setting. Starfinder is a space fantasy setting. Dark Heresy and Rogue Trader are both a grimdark space fantasy setting set in Warhammer 40k universe. And everyone will die and it will not be fun until it is. Call of Cthulhu is a Lovecraftian horror setting. So it's more of a mystery set out by the DM that you have to unravel. Which, can be done in any of these, but it is specifically made for that. Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons are the two largest fantasy role-playing games. Dungeons & Dragons being the largest one, and Pathfinder actually being based on edition 3.5 of Dungeons & Dragons, whereas we're currently on 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. To get started, we're going to talk about our three main points as to why you should play tabletop role-playing games. First of all, it helps with creative problem solving. This is a thing that's going to follow us throughout the speech, so I'm going to gloss over it fairly briefly. Then we're also going to talk about how it helps you get a broader perspective on life. Not only the life of these other people whose bodies you're inhabiting, but also of your own world. We're also going to talk about how it helps you socially, be it to make friends or to just find fun stuff to do with your friends. To start us out, we're going to talk about the creative aspect. According to Julius Stamen, in an article for Heart of the Realm, published on January 13, 2020, D&D often calls for thinking quickly to find different solutions to a problem that seems unsolvable at first glance. The game can include need for deductive reasoning, strategy, traps, puzzles, and mysteries solved with the group. Basically, tabletop role-playing games in general are a shared collective storytelling experience. The game master makes a world, makes the people, the places, and the things within the world, and it's up to the players as to how they interact with the world, thus creating a story together. And as we talk about player characters and the different people you'll meet in the world, we're going to start talking about the broadening of perspectives here. In these worlds, you're going to be meeting people that you can't meet, and you're going to be people that you aren't. As stated by Ethan Gilsdorf in an article for TED, published on January 9, 2018, in a fantasy game, you inhabit someone else's skin. You can choose to be someone like you, or someone not at all like you. So, for instance, I'm me. I'm a 19-year-old college student. I am a psychology major, and I'm going to ideally become a psychology professor and make good enough money to live the rest of my life happily, right? However, in fantasy worlds, I am a giant dragonborn paladin of Gond who seeks to make a sandwich fitting of the gods while also protecting the innocents from plague and disease. You can also be a small slave boy who was taken by bandits and was forced to become a murderer until eventually he watched all of his bandits, the bandits that have lived around him his entire life, in a very traumatic way, get murdered in front of him, and he was adopted by the people that they were originally trying to kill, namely the disgraced theater professor and his merry band of misfits in Professor Law's Amateur Actors Association. You can also be a dwarven artificer who is tired of living underground and hoarding all of his blacksmithing skills to himself and his clan and is ready to share them with the world, so he takes to the skies. You can be a warlock in service to an eldritch god. You can be a trickery domain cleric in service to a god of tricks, like Loki if you're interested in that. Or you could be a kobold artificer who has denied the fate set before him by eldritch gods who want nothing but his downfall for some reason. And that's going to take us into a little bit more as to how you get to these broader perspectives. We're going to be looking at Dungeons & Dragons here. In Dungeons & Dragons, when you're making a character, you pick a race, a class, a background, an alignment, and then you pick skills, right? No two characters are the same. So while 4,888 people might be playing a human fighter, which is the biggest one, by the way, and most of them might be outlanders, they will still have different experience in the game because of the world their game master sets before them, and because of their alignment, and because of their skills, right? So even when they have the similar background, they can still have a different experience. No two people are ever going to have the same gaming experience, even if they're at the same table. Even if they switch character sheets, they're not going to have the same experience with that character, because everybody plays it differently. And as this happens, you get to see more of the world through someone else's eyes, which then helps you see the world, your world, in a different lens. Then we're going to start talking, finally, we're going to talk about how it can help you socially. Dungeons & Dragons is believed to have roughly 13.5 million players worldwide, between Roll20, which is an online gaming site that allows you to play with people remotely over your computer, or be it pen and paper in real life, which is how I generally prefer to play these games. And so, no matter what, you'll be able to find people to play with you. No two of these people are going to be the same. Not all of them are going to be great. Not all of them are going to be terrible, though. And I'm going to read to you a passage from Mike Merles in the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Player's Handbook as of May 2014. Here he says, "Above all else, D&D is yours. The friendships you make around the table will be unique to you. The adventures you embark on, the characters you create, the memories you make, these will be yours. D&D is your personal corner of the universe, a place where you have free reign to do as you wish." So, this is just because it was made by just because this passage is from one of the men who made Dungeons & Dragons what it is today, doesn't mean that it doesn't extend to all tabletop role-playing games. Whether you're a Vesk out in space, or a lowly bookkeeper in Call of Cthulhu who ends up finding an eldritch book and starting a cult, you'll always have something different going on in your world. And therefore, I implore you, go out, take a look at these, get your friends together, have a good time. It's a great learning experience with your friends, and it'll be a good time for us all. In the end, we talked about how tabletop role-playing games help with creative problem solving, how they help you get a broader perspective on not only a false life, but on your own, as well as how they help you socially.